Welcome everyone, Dylan Gemelli here today with a brand new video for you. So a lot of people always want my user experiences. So actually I have a good story for you that I'm going to get into today. And I'm going to talk to you about the time that I accidentally used Dbol. Now I think most of you guys that follow me know that Dbol is not my favorite thing in the world. Although I am always fair when it comes to explaining how well it works for certain people and the types of things that it can provide for others. So I'm always extremely fair about that. Now, here's the scenario. This was one of my first cycles that I ever ran. And my plan, this wasn't my very first cycle, but it was earlier in the stage of my, cycling career. So I was going to run Test, Masteron, and Anavar, which clearly, already sounds crazy enough because you know my disdain for Anavar, but at that time I was newer to the game, and I was kind of, trying with something a little bit more mild that I felt was a good option. And my body fat was extremely low, so Masteron fit in there very, very well. So, the cycle starts. I'm about a week in, and I'm thinking to myself, and obviously I'd put in years and years of work with other people and studying before my steroid use, because I started at a young age with my knowledge base, not using them, because I didn't start using them until my later 20s, damn near 30. But I had been working with clients and studying and assessing for years. So I obviously know what to expect. Now, the first week I'm in, my strength is just going off the charts, and I feel almost euphoric, just like you do on Dbol, right? And, by week 2, I'm up like 7.5, 8 pounds, and at that time, the person that I got everything from was a friend of mine, and so I'm discussing with him, and I'm like, dude, I said, because I generally have a pretty rapid response to anything I take for some reason. I'm one of those people that it just hits me really quick. My body just eats things up. And, so I was like, well, I'm used to things happening quickly. I know it's not the test at this point, and I can't imagine Anavar putting on this kind of size. And especially, Mast and Test, they're really not really kicking into gear in 2 weeks on the longer ester, right? So, because I'm using Test, SIP and Mast Inundate. And so I'm just kind of bewildered. By the time 3.5, 4 weeks is up, I'm up like almost 13, 14 pounds, 15 almost on the top end. And I'm looking in the mirror and I'm still staying really cut, but the size, it's crazy. I mean, my dumbbell bench, I remember at the time it went up from, me doing like 80, 85s for sets of 10 to up to 110. I'm doing single arm shoulder presses with 85 and 90s. And I'm thinking to myself, gosh, Anavar is the truth. Well, come to find out a couple weeks later, my buddy tells me that he had, helped out a female friend of his too, and she was having all sorts of side effects and crazy issues, and come to find out everything was tested and it turned out to be Dbol. So I'm looking at him going, dude, this all makes sense now, because I'm telling you, I'm up nearly 15, 16 pounds after 4 weeks. You're not going to gain 15, 16 pounds on Anavar, even if you're undersized. And I wasn't extremely undersized at the time. I like to hover at, I'm 6'1". I generally back then at that time, I always like to stay around 185, which I know sounds extremely light to most of you. And at that height, it's average, but I like to stay completely shredded. Now I'm 6'1", right at the 195 to 200 range, and that's about where I am at my top end in terms of my comfort. I've been up to last cycle 210. I'm not real comfortable there. It's just not me. People would tell me you look great, you look big. That's not, but it's all about my comfort level. It's not about what somebody else determines for me, just like anybody else, but my size gain was astronomical. But I will tell you this, that in that experience, now I won't run Dbol again because I don't like that kind of rapid size gain and that estrogen buildup. I didn't hold a ton of water. I could see a little bit, and I was wondering what the heck was going on. And I did end up running Anavar on the back end there and really cleaned that cycle up beautifully. But I will say for Dbol that my strength gain was so rapid, and that euphoric feeling is not a lie. That really happens. It's just not my kind of steroid. That's all I'm saying. But the results are there, and it doesn't have to be some dirty steroid like, you know, sometimes in my videos I've gone off on tangents about how it's hard to keep the gains, which it is because a lot of it's water, but I've seen plenty of people that run it that keep a good portion of what they do, and it's possible, and I've stated that before. I'm not going to sit here and dog it or badmouth it because it's one of the most popular steroids that there is on terms of what people use. It's one of the oldest school steroids that you can find, and I'm not going to sit here and lie and act like I didn't get extremely good gains from it. It's just not my thing. That's all. You know, some people, like, I'm not a sports car driver. I owned a Corvette at one point. I loved it. I mean, I loved it. But I like luxury cars. It just wasn't me. So it was like I tried it. I really liked it. I kept it not even a full year. But it was awesome. You know, I had a great time with it for the time being. Am I going to go buy another one? Not likely. But did I really enjoy it? Yeah. Did I enjoy that run with Dbol? Yeah. Am I going to run it again? No, probably not. Probably never. But I just wanted to explain to you the experience of when I accidentally used it, because I've told people that I've used it, and they're like, what? Huh? Well, that's the reason I used it. It wasn't by choice. It was by accident. But I did have a good experience. I'm the type of guy that I can brush things off really easily. I have really thick skin. If you make a comment at me, I really don't care. It doesn't really bother me. It's kind of like one in and out the other. But when it comes to body weight, I freak. I flip. When I see a little bit of water, a little bit of excess, it's just one of those things. Everybody's got their thing. That's my thing. And being leaner, you know, especially the way that I train and the way that I, you know, cut myself, in terms of like my cutting phases, I can see the littlest, smallest thing immediately. And so, you know, that did wear on my mind a little bit, and that's why those things are not for me. But that's my experience with Dbol, and that's how I accidentally used it. Cycle ended up being phenomenal. I finished really strong. I got nice and cut towards the end. Got rid of all the excess water. It actually turned out to be a really, really nice, strong cycle. But yeah, accidentally used Dbol, so that's the story. Everybody goes through things like that, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm perfect and never had issues with anything. If I had never had issues with anything, then how the hell could I be teaching you guys things if I don't learn from mistakes and then, you know, regurgitate and teach you about them? So that being said, stay tuned for plenty more to come. Dylan Gemelli signing off.